Combat Codes by Alexander Darwin. Stick around. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Three River Books. So I just finished reading this book, and if you want more reviews like this, I need you to do a couple things. If you can like and subscribe and share, that would really help, and that would really help me out. And also put some comments down below if you read this book. I think it's a good book, and we're going to get into it. Also, I have a Goodreads account, so please head over to Goodreads account and friend me or like me or follow me. I'll put all the links down below to all this stuff. Also included in my Amazon store will be this book. If you're interested, you can buy it from me, and I get like 2 cents on a dollar, so all good with that. All right, so enough for the promotions. All right, Combat Codes. If you have not already read this book, I might throw a few spoilers in there, so go ahead, click off this video. But if you don't care about the spoilers and you really want to know if you should purchase the book, I would say if you like The Hunger Games without weapons, you should buy the book. All right, it's a very, very good book. It has a lot of fighting. There is a lot of fighting. There is a lot of gore. It's about a bunch of teenagers that get into the ring and chop it up. Just to summarize the book, there are 3 types of people in the book. All right, it doesn't say that it's Earth, but you can kind of guess it's like an Earth-like planet. There is oxygen. It's more of a sci-fi fantasy, if you will. Like I said, mostly Hunger Games without weapons. There was a huge war where the Grievers were the homeland people. All right, those are the homeland people. And then you had the Daimyo, Diamyo. I hope I spelled that right. The Daimyo were the quote-unquote aliens that attacked this home planet. There was a lot of bloodshed. A lot of people died. And they finally got to the point where both civilizations were going to wipe each other out. All right, so the Daimyo are more technically advanced. However, they don't have the physical prowess that the Grievers do. The Grievers were predispositioned to fighting because it's a harsh landscape. It's a harsh land. Most Grievers have all yellow eyes. They also have really good blood pressure. They have very good muscle tone, very good home structure. Like, you know, they're built to fight. They're built for hard labor. All right. The Daimyos are very thin, almost pale gray skin. You could see through their skin and actually see their blood veins going through. So if it was like protrude, you could actually see that. Mostly bald. You know, think aliens, all right? So that's what they look like, all right? But they have tech, and they would use their tech to fight them, and it just got to that point where everybody's getting wiped out. So they made a deal. They said, hey, listen, we know you are a fighting group. We know that this is your planet, but we want to come here, and we want to have an armistice. So the Grievers agreed, and the way it worked out was the Daimyos were going to give as much technology as possible to the Grievers to where they could run a society, run a complete society, all right, or an ecosystem. Now, the planet is not the best planet because a lot of them had to go underground. There are above ground structures, which is the Citadel, but most of the structures are underground, and they use other Grievers called grunts to do all the work. So your class is either you're a Griever that fights or a Griever that's like sanitation. And then the Daimyos are the healers, the clerics. They call them clerics, but those are the healers. Those are the doctors. Those are the guys that are coming up with the tech. And what they did is they built these arenas all around the world, all around their world. And inside the arenas, these citadels will fight for lands, property, rights, all that kind of stuff. So if you have a grievance, with somebody or another fraction, these citadels will send out these Griever knights to go and fight for you. And as much land as you can get is as much crops that you can grow to feed the populace. All right, so now when they fight in these circles, most of it's BJJ, so it's like, you know, when they say we're going to roll, it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The author does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. This was also self-published, and then Orbitz picked it up, so good on him. Congratulations on that. There is going to be a second book. And It has a lot of fight scenes. Obviously, the author knows what he's talking about. All right, the way he does arm blocks, arm bars, the adrenaline rush, all that thing. Now, when I said tech, I meant tech. So what happens is the rings that were built are built specifically with certain alloys. There are certain alloys that the grievers can gain power from. Certain colors and certain griever knights will enhance a property within them to be better fighters, more agile, more angry, and it kind of takes over their body. So the red alloy or a metal, the way they described it, it's like a metal bar or metal bars that are built around the ring. Red is it's for aggression, right? Keeps you up at night, that kind of thing. Yellow, they use it for the prisoners to keep them happy. Blue is something else. Green is something else. I don't remember all the different colors. But depending on the griever, depending on the fight, they would put these bars of steel or these alloys in the ring itself and would enhance the fight, which everybody wants to see an enhanced fight, right? So it's great. So, and they also had these things called wisp or specters that are believed to come from those alloys. So let's say I drop the red alloy. I also have a red specter who is kind of like floats around and gives a little bit more power or whatever to the fighters themselves. And it kind of takes over these fighters. Guys are training all day, they're fighting, they're really good at it. And then at the end, those type of alloys, instead of just giving somebody a tap out or whatever, can take over their body, and they wind up killing a couple guys. All right, so it's interesting the way they do it. All right, so it is a two-person POV. You have the Mighty Murray. Mighty Murray Pearson is a Griever Knight that once had fought for the Citadel and once won, all these lands. And he was part of the Ezo province. I think Ezo province is the name. Ezo Citadel. All these citadels have names. They have people behind them. They have lands behind them. They have people that work for them. And he was part of the Ezo, all right, or the Ezo. And he was one of their champions. And the way it works is if I have one citadel that wants, let's say, another 30 pieces of land or 30 parcels of land so I could feed my family, then I have the Ezo citadel. Those two, instead of warring it out or killing each other, they just send both their champions, and they send them in the ring, and whoever wins that 30 pieces of land, all right, whatever it is. Okay, so that's a way of not killing each other, all right? They just send their biggest champions. Murray Pearson at one point lost, so he was their champion and he lost. And instead of just kicking him out, he became a scout, all right? So he was looking, he lost a whole bunch of property. People hated him for it. They bet money on it. They lost money on him, the whole thing. He's still very much fit, but he's an older guy. He has a ton of injuries, and they make him a scout. He's a talent scout for the Citadel. And he's usually pretty good, but he believes in the codes. Now, the codes is the biggest thing. If you look in this book, you're going to see on the top of every page, on the top of every single page, one of the codes. The codes is a manifest of fighting prowess. It's a code of rules. And the old Griever Knights believed in it, Murray being one of them. However, with the new tech and with the new fighters that they're getting, it's kind of like they're just codes. I don't give a crap anymore. But Murray truly believes in this. Then we cut to Seagull. Seagull winds up in the slave pits fighting. All right, as bad as it is, the underground has fighting, and they're all fighting children. All right, this is what I said with the Hunger Games. Everybody's a teenager or under 10 years old, and it's rough when you start watching it. But they're slave kids. All right, some people were sold. His group of 9 when they first start. Some kids were captured. Some kids were living on the street, and they were starving to death. So the slave owners pick them up. They feed them. They put them in a ring. But the conditions are poor. They give them this green slop to eat. They have to train all day. They have to run around all day. They got to fight each other. They're not well nourished. They're not well taken care of. Most of them just sleep on the ground. But if they get noticed, they can get purchased by a citadel and become Griever Knights. And that's where you start the whole story, right? That's where these kids kind of start to learn. Now, Seagull is a special type. Although they are training him to fight, he also has visions and flashbacks through the whole book about a guy named Farmer. So he had two brothers, where he was on his tropical island, and this guy Farmer trained him how to fight, taught him the codes. And all of the time, he's just constantly, he would get into a bad fight situation and he would go back to the codes, he would go back to what Farmer taught him, and he would win. That's how he catches the eye of Murray Pearson. Murray Pearson brings him back up to the Citadel. All right, a good, happy moment. And also he finds out that, you know, some of the pals that he was with in the slave pens also got purchased and brought back up to the Citadel. All right, so good on him. And then this is where it starts to turn into the Hunger Games, where the kids are brought to the Citadel. They have better eating establishments. It's an actual school. They get lectures on fighting and techniques. There's also a tier system. So you start off at tier 1, and then you go all the way to tier 5 or 6. And then you can take your final test, become a Griever Knight, and fight for your citadel or country or whatever it is. All right. Through the whole course of the book, you do find that the Daimyo are pretty much owning the Grievers. They make all these backdoor deals. Murray, being old school, is not a big fan of it. He gets into fights and arguments with his leadership. And, you know, he doesn't get fired, but he goes onto this investigation. He really feels for this guy, that this kid that he recruited. He also trains with him. And lo and behold, he finds out that, spoiler, lo and behold, he finds out that Seagull is a product of the Daimyos. All right, so he was grown in a test tube. All right, so I'm not going to beat it up too much, but he was one of the ones that was supposed to be discarded. He was, so think about the Matrix, all right? When the Matrix started, where they're all in those test tubes, that's kind of where he was created. The Daimyos are creating humans or human-like grievers in a test tube, and they're taking all the properties out, sort of like the Clone Wars. Think about the Matrix. It's just like the Matrix. They're growing them in a vat of oil, and then when they're done, they train them and they make them the best of the best, and then of course they sell them to the Citadels. And then what the Citadels do is, of course, they put their best champions against each other. More land, more food, more prosperity. All right, guys, so I hope you appreciated that review. I liked it. In my opinion, I would say that this is a 3.5 to 4-star book, depending on your style. If you like combat sci-fi, Hunger Games type of book, it's pretty good. You know, I appreciate the martial arts. When I was young, I used to take martial arts, so I kind of liked it. I do understand the codes, because the codes are a very strict military organization. I myself am a United States Marine, and I love it. I think it was good. I can't wait for the second book. If you are interested in this book, please hit the link down below. I will put it on my Amazon page. If you want to support this channel, you can buy the book, or you can go to Patreon. Patreon will only cost you $1 a month, and you get to watch videos just like this. If you want anything for free, it's very simple. Just give me a thumbs up, give me a like. Make sure you subscribe, guys. I got 90% of you guys watch this channel on a daily, but you're not subscribed, so please subscribe. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, guys, and as always, keep reading.